Hey guys, my name is Atlee and I'm so glad you found this video. Now, if you clicked on my thumbnail, it's probably because you're in one of the 4 stages of your spinal surgery journey. Maybe you're in the first stage, and this, in my opinion, is the most daunting stage. It's the stage with research and then Googling again, and then probably getting nervous and then Googling again. And this can be, in my opinion, one of the toughest stages. Maybe you're in what I believe to be the second stage of your spinal surgery journey. Now, this is like the most liberating stage. It's when maybe you picked a surgery date, you have your surgeon, you have your team, or maybe you just decided, you know what, spinal surgery is the best option for me. You found a solution, you've built your support team, and now you just want to make sure that you have as little surprises as possible because let's face it, you're about to go through something pretty major. Maybe you're in the third stage of your spinal journey. You've had your surgery and you're like, what now? Or you're fully in the fourth stage of your spinal journey and you're in recovery, but it's not going the way they told you it was going to go. These can all be really scary, complicated, confusing, and just unnerving stages, but no matter where you are in your spinal journey, you've come to the right place. I decided to make this video series because I too, just like you, found myself in all of these various stages with little to no information about how I should handle them. Was I going to be out of work? Was I going to be able to have sex? What was my pain going to be like? How long is recovery going to be like? What would happen if I got my period? What if I had my period on surgery day? Which I did. These are the things that doctors just don't really tell you. And there is little to no information about what happens to you during, after, and before surgery. What would my pain really be like after surgery? How long was I going to be out of work? Would I be able to dress myself? What meds would I be on? Would I be able to go to the bathroom? What if I had to go to the bathroom? Does someone have to help me with that? And for all the women watching, how in the world would I go through surgery if I'm on my period? Yeah, these are things that our white male-dominated hospital system doesn't really talk to you about. I needed this information and still need this information. And when I was Googling or YouTubing, the only videos I really found were like this.
The spine consists of a series of interconnected bones called vertebrae, extending from the base of the skull to the tailbone.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but those didn't really speak to me. From all of my research, basically what I found is that there is little to no real honest information about what it's like to just be a human going through spinal surgery. What's it going to mean for your career? What's it going to mean for your relationships? What's it going to mean for your relationship to your own body? And don't let anybody fool you. This is a very big deal. I'm going to say that again. This is a very big deal. But if you're anything like I was pre-surgery, then surgery is your only option. And it'll be worth it. It just isn't going to be easy. So, let's get into it. Before I go into detail about everything, I just wanted to give you guys a little context to me and my story so you know why I would be a credible source to give you this information. Basically, since I was a very young child, I've been super active. So I was a competitive dancer, I did sports, I hiked, I swam. I was basically moving my body all the time. Here's a little glimpse of some ways I used to move my body, and I also have more dance videos below if you're curious about that. Basically, the moral of the story is that I used to push my body through pain. I was never really taught how to listen to my body or work with my body. I just kind of forced my body to do what I wanted it to do. I didn't really care if something hurt as long as I could accomplish what I had set out to accomplish physically. This sort of tough love approach that I had to my body is not something that I recommend, but it's also not something that I regret, as it did lead me to have spinal surgery. And in my case, spinal surgery was an amazing opportunity for me to kind of rethink this strained and sort of unhealthy relationship that I had with my body. Now, I have a sneaking suspicion that most of you watching also potentially have not been, or maybe are not, very responsive to your body's cues. For years, my body's been telling me to slow down, and I actually had a pretty intense spinal injury when I was 17 in dance. However, I took PT maybe for a few months, and then I just went back doing everything that I was doing. I did not rest. I did not change my lifestyle at all. And this caused me to develop chronic pain. from about 17 till, I was 31, I had chronic pain that started in my lower back on the right-hand side, moved to my hip, then it moved up to my shoulder for a while. I then had very bad pain in my neck. This eventually transitioned into being nerve pain, nerve in my foot, a numb leg. The list goes on and on. So I lived with this chronic pain for the good portion of 14 years. And during that whole time, I never once saw a Western doctor. I saw some physical therapists, drainage specialists, I did yoga, I did Pilates. I did everything besides seeing a Western medicine doctor. And it wasn't until I moved to New York in August of 2019 that my pain got so bad that I actually could no longer walk. And that's when I decided to pursue seeing a doctor. By that time, my pain had gotten so bad that I had to quit my job. I wasn't hanging out with friends. I wasn't taking the subway. I basically was doing nothing but hobbling back and forth to doctor's appointments, trying to figure out what was wrong with me. Before I go on, I just want to say that unfortunately right now in the United States, in order for you to get the healthcare you deserved, you basically have to be wealthy. I was never someone that grew up with a privatized fancy doctor. I was always someone that relied on my parents and jobs for healthcare. I've also been without healthcare for several years because of this. And honestly, one of the biggest reasons that I didn't pursue care was because I knew that I probably couldn't afford it. So if you're watching this video and you, like me, have not pursued the care that you need because you can't afford it, then unfortunately, I don't have that much positive information for you. What I can tell you is the only way that I was able to receive healthcare was by being unemployed. That was the only way that I was able to get everything that I needed. I'm not saying you should leave your job for this. I'm just saying that's what happened to me. And I actually fought for about 3 months to receive healthcare Medicaid, which is something you can only get if you are below the poverty line, which I literally was, and was living off of food stamps to survive because I had no job because I couldn't walk. And so that's the sad reality right now. I really hope that that changes, but as of now, that's the only way that I did it. And unfortunately, also, like everything else in your journey, you're gonna really have to be your biggest advocate. And you're basically gonna have to spend, even receiving Medicaid, I had to spend 3 months on the phone every day. I'm not exaggerating, to get the care that I needed, to see the doctors that I needed, and to be approved for the surgery. So if anybody watching would like me to go down that rabbit hole and go into further detail in a different video, I'm more than happy to do that. It's not very positive and it's not very exciting, but it is necessary information. So just comment below if you guys would like me to talk about that. Okay, I digress. So luckily for me, after about 3 months, I was able to receive healthcare, and I was placed at the Brooklyn Hospital Center Neurology Department, where I got an amazing team, and I will link their websites and their names and stuff below. So if you are in the area and looking for a spinal surgery team, I highly recommend my guys. When I entered my doctor's office, they of course had me explain my pain. If you're young, you might have a doctor that doubts you. I could tell that my doctors were a little skeptical of what I was describing just based on my age and how healthy I looked. And because I did walk in, I was not using a cane. I also wasn't using any pain meds. And my injury was so severe that it was shocking actually that I wasn't using pain meds, and they were shocked by that as well. So when I came in, I described my symptoms, which I'll just rattle off the symptoms for you now because I'm sure most of you have them or are curious what your symptoms mean. For me, I had stabbing pains that would come up from my right hip and my lower back on the right-hand side, or right around here. Then that pain would travel down my leg, and I developed severe nerve pain. So it's like a really strong burning that was from the bottom of my foot all the way up through my right side of my body, and sometimes even into my neck. I would get little headaches, my leg would go numb, my feet would go numb, and this is all on my right-hand side. And then I just had constant throbbing, just constant throbbing kind of all the time. So my doctors assessed my pain, and they immediately sent me to get a MRI, an X-ray, and a CT scan. When all those came back, basically what they found in my doctor's words were an injury that he usually sees only in bigger men that are 65 and older that have worked in construction. He also did tell me that he rarely, but he does see my injury in competitive athletes and dancers and even yoga instructors. So what was my injury? I'm sure you're wondering. What basically happened was my L4, L5 disc completely shattered. My doctor actually said it had exploded. And all of the disc particles had basically popped out and spurted out the side and were compressing my entire nerve canal on my right-hand side. And as you can see by these photos right here, that's my disc. And then you can see that's supposed to be the nerve canal, and it's completely compressed by the disc particles. The pain that I was feeling was from that injury, which you can see right there. Once I had the results, which by the way, you should know the results take like 2 weeks. It took me about 3 months after deciding I wanted to get surgery to actually get on the operating table, because you have to get all these scans and all these tests and see all these appointments, and all of these appointments you have waiting for the appointment, getting the appointment, waiting for the results from your appointment, then waiting to get another appointment to discuss the results with your doctor. So if you are considering getting surgery, honestly, I just wouldn't wait, because it's going to be a very, very, very long process. So once my doctors had my results, they basically explained to me that my only option was surgery. They told me that they would never recommend surgery for someone of my age unless it was absolutely necessary. Basically, in my case, there was so much structural damage. There was no yoga or meditating or praying or sleeping or rest or hot tubbing or basically anything that could literally put my disc back together. They decided to leave my other discs alone and just go to my L4, L5. And the surgery that they actually decided on was a T-lift surgery, which is a transformational lumbar interbody fusion with disc decompression. To break it down, what they decided to do for me was go in through my right-hand side, and they split open my muscle, kind of like a hot dog or like curtains, and they went inside that way. But before they did this, like I told you, they took my x-ray and MRI and the CAT scan to figure out exactly how wide and long my actual disc should be so that they could create a synthetic disc. With that synthetic disc, they filled it with stem cells. And then what they did the day of the surgery is they would go in, they pulled out all of my disc particles, took that all out, took their little synthetic disc that they made for me, put it in, and then I don't know when this happens, if it's before or after. I feel like it's before. They harvest your bone marrow. They put my bone marrow inside this little disc, and then they stick that in between my other discs. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, and that was super incorrect scientifically, but for normal people, that kind of explains what you go through. But if you would like to learn more about your surgery in a very specific scientific way, then I encourage you to do your own research. So I think I covered all of the basics for you. You know who I am, you know why I'm making these videos, so you know a little bit about what you're getting yourself into. I'm so proud of you for taking the time to watch this video, and you do have a very long road ahead of you, but if I can do it, you can do it. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.